Conservation of the Year Award over in Asheville, North Carolina, from a group that called Long South. Waited for 2 years in the 80s, but kept the house, rented it out. Couldn't find much land for what I could afford. And then I found this area was like this pocket that had been overlooked. This is where you are right now. That's the house I bought. I had the front porch, and I painted it yellow, but it was just a little brown box. It looked like that. Farmers and country folk who had been out here for generations, and then doctors, lawyers, and other professionals that have moved in. And then there's been a new influx in the last 2 or 3 years of the young farmers, because we started our farm, and with the internet it tracks people from all over the world, and some of which come here and stay. Bordeaux is to our east, so there's some black population both on our edge and a few sprinkled in, but not much. We don't have too many other nationalities. Nobody designed this area.
Right.
It sort of grew. We did go through an elaborate, painful community planning process more than once, but most recently when the whole Maytown thing was unfolding. A 2-lane highway coming out. It had a ferry boat down at the end to get across the river, or you could go downtown by way of Bordeaux Bridge, which was, I think, a 3-lane bridge back then. So this was fairly inaccessible, which is why it was preserved. And when I discovered the lack of transportation out here, it's what drew me. You have to have a car or 2 out here, usually 2.
Why 2?
One's always broken, or somebody wants to borrow your truck. Some days it's just in the mailbox, but you may have noticed that my mailbox is a mile from here.
Right.
So that's 2 miles round trip.
Does this area have adequate sidewalks, crosswalks, at
Yes.
intersections?
We have adequate sidewalks. We have none.
None.
And that's
No
perfectly
sidewalks.
fine. It could probably stand a little bike lane added, but it's not a big deal.
Okay.
If it would in any way encourage development, we don't want it.
Okay.
Most of the time it's empty. They never should have built it. It was a mistake. It was not supposed to be 7 lanes. It just got out of control. They were basically trying to encourage development, and we didn't figure it out in time to stop it. And don't go tell anybody this. This is the least congested part of town. Most people out here have city water, but I don't, because I'm too far off the road. So I have my own water supply. There's no sewer past Bradley Parkway, so everybody out here is on septic systems, which is good. It means that we don't have subdivisions and shopping centers and everything everywhere. I don't have garbage service. We're outside of what's called the Urban Services District. We're the general. So we have like police and fire, although it's real slow sometimes. And most people have a private garbage bin. So I have water when the power's out, because I rely on a pump. You see the water trickling in out there? So it comes out of a little cave back in that hall. It's a little bitty grow frog.
How do you purify the water?
I don't.
You don't? You can just drink it straight?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That water I generally don't drink straight because there are salamanders and things living in my spring box. But the water supply, I kind of overdid the well house. It really just needed to be a little thing, but one thing led to another. This is scrap stone from a big stone cutting company that makes giant buildings. This is from their scrap well. The well is that pipe down there, and that's the pressure tank. So I'm almost finished. It'll also serve as a wine cellar and food storage and beer storage. Stores out here, and we like it that way. We had a battle with the planning department a few years ago because they wanted to rezone some stuff for commercial, and we don't want that. And they didn't understand. The town's not far. You know, from here to the state capitol is only 10 miles. So going to a grocery store is not a burden. And most people go to town for something every day or two anyway. So it's not like we live in 2 counties over or 50 miles out. We're only 10 miles from most of the city. A lot of people have their own gardens, but now that this has sprung up, a lot of people have joined it. We've fed about, I think this year we have 100 families that have signed up,
Wow.
plus people that come and buy stuff or buy it online. And we have 3 or 4 other farming operations that have sprung up as a sort of a spin-off of this.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say people rely on it so much as they participate in it.
Right.
More recently, the community farm down there it has become a huge gathering point.
Mm-hmm.
On Tuesday night every week, starting with the growing season, which was this past Tuesday. I guess this Tuesday was the second week, so it was last week. Was the kickoff of our growing season. We have a potluck there, and you can't find a parking place. That driveway is just lined with vehicles. And part of the hops project, so we grow hops at our community farm, and last year we had our first successful crop and teamed up with Yazoo, and they came out and harvested it. We sat and drank beer and picked the flowers, which is what you make hops out of. They make beer out of, and came up with our name, which is Bell's Bend Preservation Ale. They made about 30 or 40 kegs of it, and this year we're going to try to make a whole lot more and bottle it. So look for it in a store near you or at a fraternity party near you. Just the lifestyle out here is active.
Right.
You're going to be cutting up trees just to get home some days. And so I, for one, don't need to go join a health club or jog. I get enough activity living out in the country, and I think a lot of others do.